Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Anthony, and welcome back to Let Me Be Frank. This is episode 34, and our phone a friend this week is up and coming fantasy novelist Tommy Campbell. Hey, Tommy, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going well. How are you?
I am good. Thank you. I just had to, what was it? The dogs were starting to go crazy from
Well,
I have my little recording area, and then I kind of keep them in another area. And of course, right as we were about to start, they were going a little crazy. So I had to kind of stop them for a second, but otherwise good. So yeah, let's get right into it. So, first question I usually like to ask, this is kind of like my version of an about me question. If
right.
you were a novel, what would the back of your book say?
Uh, I don't think it'd say that much. I think it would be, short and sweet. Something, be something along the lines of a tale of many twists and turns. Um, I think the genre, more specifically, would be somewhere between a comedy and a horror. So, yeah, I think it'll build a bit more suspense.
Okay, cool. Cool. I find that interesting too, because we'll get into a little bit later too. As I just said it too, with the whole fantasy thing, it's interesting
Yeah.
uh, that you chose comedy and horror. Are there any specific reasons why?
No, it's just been a bit of a shit show, to be honest.
I
um,
in a way.
yeah, no, I wish I could say my life was a bit more fantasy, but yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that.
And obviously, with the accent and everything, you're from the UK, correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
All right, cool. Have you always lived in the UK?
yes. Always lived in the UK. Would love to move abroad at some point, maybe to the US or Canada or something like that. Be a nice little change.
Yeah, definitely. I personally never left the country
Yeah.
before. Yeah. So hopefully when eventually things cool down, hopefully
I
we
mean,
can.
yeah. I mean, the US is quite a big place alone, isn't it? I suppose you've got a lot of places to visit there still.
Yeah. Do you know, I guess, like what states you would want to visit?
Uh, I'd like to visit around the south, more like Arizona way in Texas, and
Okay,
I think that would be interesting.
cool. So So yeah, how old were you when you started writing? And if you were inspired to write stories at a young age, can you remember anything that you wrote years ago?
Um, when I started writing properly, I was about 20. Um, I mean, I just moved to a new house with my mum and my sister. So it's kind of starting fresh. And for the first few weeks, we didn't really have much. So I was getting bored quite easily.
Mhm.
Um, and I was hunting around trying to find things to do. And then I came across an old scatty notepad. Probably first 3 pages had been drawn in already. So I just ripped them out. I said, you know what, I'm going to write a little story. Never intended to write a book whatsoever. Um, and this story then soon became something I really wanted to progress with. And, um, up until now, it's been, a massive part of what I've enjoyed doing for so many years. And obviously now it's in the editing stage. It's kind of finally come to a decent end. So it's finally came into something. As for writing, I think it was more my imagination that shone through first. I remember being in English class in school, and we was told to write a story about our lives. Just a one-page story. And I asked the teacher if I could write about something else because my life really wasn't that interesting. Um, so I chose to write a horror story at the time, and I just used all my imagination that I could. I think remembering back, it was about a school bus which broke down in the middle of the woods, and one by one, all the children were killed.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so it was a little bit different than what I'm writing now. Um, and I just remember something the teacher said to me then, saying that my imagination is great. And since that point, that has always stuck with me. Um, so I think since then, I've just tried to improve my writing the best I can. Up until this point, and I'm hopefully hoping it shows in the book that I've been writing.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. So this was it one of the stories that you were saying when you were writing as a kid? Is that something you're still working on or
No,
no? Okay.
no. I decided to bin that story after the
Yeah.
after I handed it to the teacher, because I think one of her comments after that, after saying, the good comment of my imagination was great, was soon followed by it's also a bit sick. So,
Oh wow.
um, so yeah, that story was soon binned after that, and yeah, horror was never really my strong point. But I don't know why I went for horror that day. Um, but yeah, I suppose I wanted to stand out with my little assignment.
Well, I mean, I think it's cool. I know when I was younger, the stuff that I mean, I wish I was, I guess, as advanced when it came to those types of ideas to write about at such a young age because one of my first stories it was called Mystery Days and it just was a complete ripoff of Scooby Doo with
Right,
like I starred in it and my friends.
the dog in it as well. Then,
Yeah.
yeah,
I would say yeah, you might have got a critique from a teacher. I would have got sued.
yeah, more than likely, yeah. I think yeah,
But
it comes down like I think even before I'd written that story, I think there was always um, a side of imagination there that I would always just dive deep into. Like I used to
yeah.
every year for Christmas, I always used to get wrestling figures, like action figures.
Oh, me too.
And I don't think I ever actually played wrestling with them. I used to have big like army battles with them. I don't think I ever actually used them to play wrestling with, but yeah, I think that vast imagination has always somewhat been there.
Well, I think because you were born in the '90s, right?
Yes.
I was gonna say I think we were around right the same age. I'm 28.
Yeah, and, I'm coming up to 28 very soon.
Okay, so yeah, we at least during our time, which
Yes.
makes us sound kind of old, but we, compared to today, I guess at least we definitely didn't have as much to do with
Nope,
like electronics and stuff like that. So
definitely not. Yeah.
yeah, we definitely needed to be creative, and I think I don't know. I think that's probably why there's so many adult writers now because
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
as
they've
kids they
grown
didn't have
into
much
it.
to
Yeah,
do.
definitely.
But yeah, so let's get more into your genre as a writer and the new book that you're currently working on.
Okay. The book I'm writing on, again never intended it to become this big thing. I think I started in the notepad before I'd even written a word into the story. I think I'd written about 10 or 15 different titles for this book. And I got my mum and my sister to put a tick next to the title that they liked, and there was only one title that got two ticks. So I decided to stick with that title, which I'm making the title of the series altogether, so not the individual book. So I'm planning on writing 4 books for the series. So the series is called The Walls of War, and the first book is going to be titled The Beckoning. But it is, yeah, an epic medieval fantasy about two prince brothers who go on two completely different journeys. Starting off, obviously, very very close bond. Um, Soon, literally just thrown up into the air, by the end of the first book. Um, yeah, I'm hoping I can go a long way with it.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait until that comes out. And I try to I've had other authors on the show and I try to get everyone's work. So you'll
Yeah,
definitely have to let me know when that comes out.
it's definitely. I've always the hardest part about it is because it is such a big story to tell.
Yeah.
It's hard to give a description of the first book specifically
Hmm.
without giving away too much of what's going to happen. Um, so yeah, I think that's been the biggest challenge is trying to write a synopsis for the story.
Are there any specific events in life or certain things like is there anything that inspired this specifically?
Yeah, I think. Well, I know. My biggest inspiration was always Tolkien, author of Lord of the Rings. He specifically them films and his books were a massive inspiration.
Hmm.
I think the creator of fantasy in my eyes, and he's just a genius at what he does. I don't think now or even in the future, I don't think he'll ever be topped when it comes to fantasy. But I'm going to do my best to get as close to his
I was
level
gonna say until you
as I
come out.
yeah, I'm going to do my best to get as close to his level as I possibly can. But yeah, no, I'd say Tolkien was a massive inspiration for what I'm doing.
Awesome. And by the way, that's really smart with the titles. I'm gonna put my friends and family through that now. I'm gonna be like, you're all gonna have to vote,
Yeah,
writing down. I never do that. I just struggle with probably a lot of us do that where we just struggle for so long with a title, and it
yeah.
seems like such an effective technique.
I, I didn't. I wasn't. Yeah. When I hear of other author stories at the moment, and obviously they just get straight into writing, and they don't. A title is not really something they come up with first. So
Yeah,
when I later found that out, I did think it was a very it was a very strange technique um, that I used eventually, but it's worked out well. I'm really happy with the title.
yeah.
So yeah, it's worked out well.
And it's cool too because you had a bunch of suggestions that you liked yourself that you probably would have been. I'm assuming you would have been happy with most
Yeah.
or any of them. And
Yeah.
then at least now putting it into the hands of other people to vote on, it's kind of like good marketing wise because then
Yeah.
that's yeah, a title that attracts them to maybe want to
That
buy it.
that was it. Yeah. No.
But yeah, so you told you told me you like history, which I'm like, wow, God bless. Because
Yes.
history was definitely one of but see, I was the weird person that liked math. So history
No good at
was
maths.
yeah,
I'm
I feel like
terrible at
it's one
maths.
or the other.
Yeah.
So so yeah, where did that passion come from for history? And then you were also telling me that you were an extra in a World War I short film. So yeah,
Yeah.
how did all that happen?
Wow. So the love of history, I think, has just come from again me saying about having an imagination, having all these wrestling figures. You can probably assume already that when I was a kid, I was a bit of a dork. So watching like I used to love all the old Western movies, the war movies, and other things like Troy and Gladiator and things like that. And I was just like,
Yeah,
I loved the whole concept of these fighting films, and um, obviously there's been so many battles through history, and I just love reading and learning about every single one of them. More say for the Viking period and the Native American period. Probably there's possibly an army in the book that I'm writing that resembles a combined version of the two. So history does in some way incorporate into the way I am actually writing as well. Um,
definitely.
but yeah, I just love everything about history. As for the World War I extra, I signed up to an acting agency app on my phone, because I always loved acting, like even in school, um, which unfortunately I didn't get the grades for, because I decided not to do my coursework for that class, for for some stupid reason. But I'd always loved to go into acting. I decided, why not? I've not gone to college or done it, but there's still probably a way into it somewhere. Um,
Mhm.
I signed up to this acting agency. I applied for this World War I short film to be an extra, and yeah, I was one of the lucky few that was chosen to be a part of it. It was shot over 2 days, um, in a farm. Someone had built their own World War trench in a farm, um, just outside of a town called Folkestone. Um, and yeah, we shot there for 2 days. It was absolutely freezing. But I think when you're in something like that, and they've got like these fake explosions going off, and you're standing there in these muddy boots, and I think adrenaline just kicks in the whole time you're there.
Oh,
And
definitely.
it's absolutely amazing. There is actually a small trailer of it somewhere, which being in that actually gave me my own IMDb profile as well,
Oh, nice.
which, which is funny. But yeah, that short film is it's gone into a few film festivals now and won a few awards. And
Oh, wow.
I was just happy to be a part of it. And hopefully, one day someone picks my book up and decides to turn that into a film or TV series, and yeah, I won't mind
That's the
grabbing a
dream.
part in that as well. So
I what was it called, the short film?
it was called The Whistleblower.
Okay. Do you remember what you were doing as extra work?
Well, I on the first day I was a medic.
Okay.
I was ready to go over the trench like when the whistle blew. Um, I didn't die, which I was grateful for.
That's great.
So, so come the second day of filming, they give me a completely different costume. And I was, my fans want to see me as the medic. I didn't die. I didn't die. I feel like I have a right to remain as the medic and reprise my role. But yeah, they gave me a different costume, just an actual soldier costume. I still didn't die, which I was which I was happy about. Um, but yeah, I had two roles. There was a scene that we shot that we had to run from under a little bunker in the trench. We had to run out. We'd done the take several times, over and over and over again. But it was very cold, very muddy, and we had to do a sharp right turn as we was running out. But the more times we do the take, obviously, the more mud we was getting and treading on the surface, and the slippier it was getting.
Mhm.
So every time we was doing this sharp right turn, the more we were all just about to just slip over, and probably just there was large spikes hanging out of these things as well. So it could have been very dangerous, but yeah, luckily I survived that as well. So
I love that you were like, "Damn, I just wanted to really be the medic for the for the fans and for everyone that's gonna
yeah, the
search me on
fans were, yeah,
IMDb."
everyone's going to be asking where what happened to the medic, like.
I was like, "You're gonna have to start your own, movie or show as the medic."
Yeah, I'm gonna have
We
to
need to
write
know
my next
the
book.
medic's background
Yeah,
story.
my next novel is going to be the point of view of the medic, from this film.
I actually fun fact, do you remember the movie, Ted?
Yes, yes, love Ted.
So the second one, I actually went to audition for an extra, and
Oh.
they were gonna choose me. I think they chose like hundreds of people. I wasn't that special, but they my friend and I, and we couldn't go all the way out to the location that they needed. It felt like it was like really short notice, and they were like, "Yeah, we need you all like now." And unfortunately, I couldn't do that. So I unfortunately don't have an IMBD profile.
Nah.
But that I could have been a medic. It sucks.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I haven't got that written on my IMDb profile though, but I might put it on my CV instead.
So you also told me that, which I found very interesting, that you wanted to start your own publishing company. So how did that
Yes.
come about?
This was I had a dream at one point. Like, I've always wanted to move to the US. Obviously, as mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
but I never knew where to go, and there was a point where I wanted to go to New York, um, and I'd love to start my own business once I've published a book, but I wasn't sure what road to go down. Obviously, I'm going to have to stick with something involving books, otherwise, me writing this book is kind of a waste of all of these years. So I had to do something based around a book, and I've been looking into publishing. The differences between traditional publishing, self-publishing,
Yeah.
um, and I was surprised to find like a lot of traditional publishers take a lot of royalties from authors just trying to get
Yes.
their book out there and make a living. Um, so I would have loved to have set up my own publishing company to give back to the authors that are trusting you with their book, to give them more royalties. Um, and obviously there was added features that I wanted in this publishing company as well. For instance, I have a book that has tons of story ideas in them, but I want to stick to one genre, being fantasy. And a lot of the book ideas I have in there are not my genre at all. And I would love for there to be a place where you could go, you could sell these ideas, like come up with these great ideas.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also incorporate this into the publishing business. If you're not that good at writing, but you have such a creative imagination, write your idea down for a book, sell it to us. Our ghostwriters, our team of ghostwriters would publish that book, and earn money that way. Maybe have a workshop for people that want to learn how to write or hone their writing skills. So yeah, I'd love to one day set up that company.
That's awesome. I would be, oh my God, you would get so many. I think you would get so many ideas sent
Yeah,
in, not just like
yeah,
authors wanting to be part of the company. I'd be sending an idea every week. I'd be like, I have an
yeah.
idea. Where's my check? No,
Definitely.
but I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit for
Yeah.
this question. So, do you remember the percentages? Well, it's like a two-part question. Do you remember the percentages of royalties that for the publishing companies that you found online? Like, do you remember what percentages they took from an author, and do you have an idea of what your percentage system would be for your own company?
God, yeah, that is on the spot. I haven't.
Sorry.
I know that's all right. That's fine. I haven't thought too much about the financial side of this company at the moment. I'm still in the idea stage.
Yeah.
But there's a few companies, there's a few people that have stated to me that with publishing companies, sometimes an author can get about 1% of the royalties, which if their book sells for £7.99 or £9.99, they could get pence back for that. Not even pounds or dollars in your sense. Um, and I thought, they've put in all this effort, they've done all the hard work to write this story and to make it as good as it is, for them to be handed dimes. It's I feel like some authors deserve a little bit better than that.
Oh,
Obviously, I'm not
definitely.
slating traditional publishers. I'm not saying they don't put in a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
That's far from it, because me self-publishing now, I know how much hard work does go into it. But I feel like authors deserve a little bit more than what they do get from a traditional publisher.
Oh, definitely. I didn't see like I see a lot of the percentages I usually have seen was for like self-publishing on certain
Yeah,
platforms like Amazon or Barnes and Noble and stuff. And those were seemed a little bit better.
yeah,
Obviously, like you have to do a lot more of the work yourself too to get it out
100%.
and everything. But I never saw 1% from like that. That's kind of criminal in a
Yeah,
way.
it's shocking when I found out. And obviously, when you self-publish, you can earn up to 50% more royalties from, if you do traditional publishing. It's a massive margin. And like, yeah, you spend a lot of the time doing everything yourself. You put in a lot of money into it, but um, I feel like there's more of a sense of achievement as well. Like, not only have you like you've written this book, but you've gone on, you've published it, you've marketed it, you've done everything yourself, and every penny you get after that is, well worth it. Like, it's well earned.
Yeah, and at least with with ideas like your publishing company, I
Yeah,
feel like at least maybe that will be the happy medium
yeah,
where maybe the author will be able to find the success from a traditional publisher and also make the money too.
100%. And obviously, with the extra features on top of the publishing companies, with the idea sales and the workshops. Hopefully that'll bring in a bit more revenue where um, you'll be able to offer these authors a bit more of a percentage from the books that you're publishing for them.
So I like to ask this question too,
Yeah,
and usually most episodes, what is one of the most valuable lessons you've learned in life?
I've learned a lot of lessons. I've not listened to many of them, but I've learned a lot of them. I think more recently, with handing my book to several people to read first, to see how the story flows and whatnot before I send it off to um, the editor. I found myself reacting badly to criticism at first. I didn't like criticism,
Mm,
but that didn't last very long. As it went on, obviously, I realised that, yeah, my book at the start wasn't great. It wasn't great at all. It was, quite frank, it was terrible, it was dreadful. Um, but because of that criticism, I was able to, improve and change the bits that were um, not working very well. And now I've turned it into this final product that I'm more than happy with. So if it wasn't for that criticism, it wouldn't have got to this point, and I'd probably still be sat here trying to publish a terrible, terrible, terrible story.
mhm.
So to learning to take criticism, I think, was a big lesson learned.
I think yeah, I think for writers too, I think it's one of the most important lessons
Yeah,
that we need to learn because we're not going to all get lucky with trying to get a story out there and oh my god, they signed the first publisher signed us or something like
yeah, that's
it's
never
so hard
happened.
to do.
Yeah,
I don't know if you knew this. I learned this not too long ago. James Patterson, do you know him?
I know James Patterson. Yeah,
That author, he his first book was rejected 85 times.
it's mad, isn't it?
It's crazy, and he has so much work out there now.
I think the big one as well was J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
That was rejected so many times before a publisher took it on. And look at it now. It's one of the most widely regarded books. It's huge. It's massive.
So I think, yeah, and I think part of it is that you probably do have a good idea and you just have to find the right people to sign on.
Yeah,
And then I think like you kind of mentioned too, the other part of it is that we can always grow more with our writing and
yeah,
master our craft.
100%. Yeah,
So and yeah, so I think it definitely is good to at least so yeah, try not to take everything to heart and still keep mastering that craft to make it the best that we can make it.
definitely. See, I think like even now, I feel in myself that there's so much more still that I need to learn, and I can better myself at. I'm nowhere near my best, but I'm I'm at my best at the minute. But I know that there's definitely more that I can take in, and there's definitely more. um, that I have to offer. I think when it comes to storytelling.
Always, yeah. I feel the same way. I tell people too when I have people read my stuff, I'm like, please, like, don't just say like it's good or just like please be 100%
Really
honest with the
honest. Yeah.
criticism and stuff because if this doesn't sell, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
Like
There's
I need
nothing
it to be
worse.
really good.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than false hope.
Exactly, yeah, the exact false hope.
Yeah.
Like, please, no
So
room for
going back to the medic thing again, thinking I was going to do day two as a medic. False hope.
so before we end this today's episode, what are I'm gonna put these also in the description of the on YouTube and the other platforms and Spotify and all that. What are your social media links or websites or other links that we can follow you on or help support?
Okay. Um, I currently have three social media outlets. I haven't quite got a website up and running yet, but I will eventually. You can find me on Facebook at Tommy L. Campbell Author. You can find me on Instagram at tl.campbellauthor, or you can even find me on Twitter as well at tcampbellauthor. So there's a few platforms out there you can come and find me on.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so definitely guys go follow him on those social medias. Those links will be in the description and yeah, we'll be on the lookout for that new book. I cannot wait.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tommy, I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
It's been an absolute pleasure. My very first podcast. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
thank you for having me. So,
Yeah, definitely thank you for being on. I want to thank today's sponsors in the episode. I want to thank John Moon, who does the intro and outro music for season three's episodes. I want to thank my producer, Monica Leigh. If you want to become a producer or executive producer yourself on the show, all you have to do is go on the Patreon link in the description and you can sign up that way. Also have some cool merch that you guys should go buy. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys for listening and watching and supporting and all that good stuff. It means so much. I hope everyone has a super special, awesome day, and bye.